Well, Chris Popper, I'm joined by Bronwyn Kortge here at MDI High School. It's been a long while since we've done a Meet the Teacher, and you didn't know this was happening. But so congratulations, MDI Show Choir, state gold medalist, state champion. How long have you been here at the high school? And give us a little background.
This is the end of my 18th year here at MDI. I got hired by Rob Lebo back in his day. Worked with Dan Granholm. Now with Michael Remy, I'm the choral vocal part of the music program here at the high school.
So, yeah, I mean, I know the high school music department from the band. I've seen the show choir. Now, in addition to the show choir, there's also then the Trebs. How does that work? Or tell me a little bit about that.
That is the other piece of the show choir extracurricular program. To this, how do I describe this? There used to be a cutoff of the number of students you could have on stage. It used to be 24 students that you could have in a show choir, but they've changed that rule because more and more kids have gotten really interested in show choir. It's quite a big thing in this part of the state. So I have almost 60 kids that audition for show choir.
Wow. And
that's way too many kids to put in a single show choir. So for a while, until it was a big enough number of kids, I just cut kids. And it was always a gutting thing to cut kids who had been in our middle school show choirs through their whole, middle school experience, and then have to wait, for 1, 2, sometimes 3 years to be able to get into our show choir. So probably about 5 years ago, we started the Trojan Trebles, which Trebs is short for treble choir. So that's the unchanged voice or the soprano alto voice, usually all women. And it allows me not to cut kids, so that those kids get to still have a show choir experience. They get to, practice their skills, hone their skills, gain more experience and perspective that they can then be ready for their mixed audition and for their mixed experience when they come up.
Show choir, I mean, my experience with show choir is through Glee. Right. I mean, I'm a Gleek. When Glee was on, it was like, let me tell you, I loved Glee. I mean, I love Glee, and I mean, it's much more than singing. I mean, it's choreography, it's set design, it's a whole process.
Yes, you said it. It takes a small army.
So how do you decide what songs are going to be sung and go over the choreography? And I mean, are you now, so show choir just got over in terms of the season. Yeah. But so do you
I'm
now
not recovered yet.
Yeah,
it was
but
just
do you,
this weekend.
when do you start the process for 2019, picking the songs? And
people have been asking me for weeks what we're doing next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It depends. Everybody does it differently. Some of our middle schools, by the time the states are done, they have a vision for what they want to do next year, and they're ready to tell the kids and ready to get the kids excited about what's going to happen next year. It doesn't work that way for me, because I write my show with the kids that I'm going to have next year. At least that's the way it's happened for the last several years, and I love the model. It's exhausting, but I think that it really allows the kids to be a part of the creative process of creating the show. Sometimes I'll pick a storyline. That's what I did this year. I said, I'm really interested in this Russian folktale, and we can't really do exactly the aspects of the folktale, but if we take this as an inspiration, and it's sort of a Romeo and Juliet idea where, their natures are contrary and their union kills each other, and So we talked about what the story arc might be like with a few of the kids, and the kids get excited about it, and they think about the story that we're trying to tell, and we all start listening to music. And Peter Benson is like, I really love this piece by Verdi. Have you ever heard of him? And I'm like, yeah, totally. I love that piece too, right?
Yeah, even I've heard of Verdi. I mean, a little bit.
Well, it's kind of cool because kids are discovering this stuff that, this hundreds of year old stuff sometimes.
And like an opera, you wouldn't kind of think about coming into show choir unless it's maybe like Bohemian Rhapsody or something like that.
Right, but I like to mix, classical and contemporary elements, and Bonnie Snyder was really instrumental this year in terms of picking, the work song and Hold On, and different people. Emerson Jeffrey brought a few pieces to the table, and even then, when we're starting to lay the cards out and say, well, this song, and what do you think about this song? Let's listen to it and see if we hear how it could fit. And then we really need something to culminate this. What's the mood we want to set at the end? Or does what happens to the lovers at the end? They die, and is that the end of our show, or do we see something additional from the communities at the end? So these are all conversations that we have with the kids, and then we listen to music that might set the tone for that and make a decision based on a few different choices for how it tells the story.
So for show choir, for the competition, how long is the piece, or how long? There must be a period that it can't go above.
Limit. Yeah, there's totally a time limit. So right now, during the State Vocal Jazz Festival, during the daytime, you have 25 minutes from the time you cross the curtain line to set up, mic check, sound check, do your performance, clean up, and leave. So from entry to exit, you have 25 minutes.
And they don't give you a time to practice the mic checks or anything?
It's all in that 25 minutes.
Okay.
It's up to you how you want to use that 25 minutes. It's the same at districts, and at districts we never have our full show done. We do 6 or 7 or 8 minutes of our show.
Okay.
So we have, 15 minutes for a mic check if we want to take it.
Right.
But if you make it to the night finals at the state festival, you have however much time you want to set up and strike and do your mic check. You have to, it would be considerate if you didn't take an inordinately long amount of time, but it's sort of up to you how much time you use for that. And then note to note, beginning note to the end of the last note has to be 15 minutes. It can't go over, or you're penalized points.
Right, and from what I remember reading, there are substantial penalties if you go above.
Substantial.
Okay. Stuff. So
we have our system down, so the splits are kind of written into our music.
Okay.
By the time you get to the beginning note of this piece, it needs to be 2 minutes and 43 seconds in this time range, 2 minutes and 43 to 2 minutes and 56, somewhere in there, you're going to be running fine. And there are all of those splits all the way through, so that the timer, our student timer, or this year it was an alum, can say to whoever's directing the pit, you need to speed up, or you're doing great, just so that the director doesn't have to worry about the timing.
And in terms of the pit, this is all student from MDI, student band, orchestra.
It has been almost always. There has been 1 year when I had an adult in the pit, and a few years when I had an adult direct the pit. But it's just grown to such a huge thing. I have a pretty large pit. My pit was as large as my show choirs some of the years at the beginning of our show choir. And it's a point of prestige to be the pit president and facilitate communication with the pit and passing out parts, and to be the director. I think it's a desirable position that the kids sort of, it's never been in contention. So I'm grateful for that. It just sort of has always sorted itself out, that someone emerges as the person who can and will direct the pit.
I've always been.
It stays that way.
All right. So if you're watching, yes, exactly. So, I've always been shockingly impressed about the MDI band, and I'll admit it. My interactions have been mostly with the pep band, but I mean, you know, we're sitting here in the music room, and I mean, the room is huge, and I mean, when you look at it, and you know, I've done an interview with Michael Remy, who, I mean, I'm just in awe of, you know, who tells me, well, yeah, and so my goal is to learn a new instrument each year, and I mean, it's like, no, seriously, oh yeah, well, you know, I want to learn this instrument, and also I'll teach myself, and it's like, yeah, right, okay.
He is completely amazing.
And, you know, having done basketball games and been at the Bangor Auditorium or now the Cross Insurance Center, I mean, everybody wants to know, is the MDI Pep Band coming? Is the MDI Pep Band coming? Please tell me the Pep Band's coming. So, I mean, it's just, it's fantastic. And I mean, the music program here is, and, you know, my music experience is, I played for the Queen of England when I lived in Bermuda, and I played tenor saxophone with the Saltus High School band, and we had a solo part with the entertainer, and I lived in nightmare of squeaking for the Queen. I mean, it was just horrible, and I think we did. But yeah, it's just horrible. Yeah, well, I had to leave the island. But so, how do you recruit? I mean, the middle schools have got a huge show choir experience or performances.
I have the biggest show choir feeder in the state.
Yeah, I mean, which just makes your job so much easier and harder.
There are 4 show choirs of kids, of middle school kids, that feed into this program. It's stunning. Yeah, I mean, you know, when you look at everybody who's competing, and then, so how do you go about, you know, like, okay, well, we're gonna kind of pick our group. I mean, you've got a finite amount, as you said. Yep. I mean, it's got to be brutal. It is. It is the most difficult thing I do all year, is sort those kids out, sort the vocalists and split them into 2 groups. Yeah. It is the hardest thing.
So, I mean, I'm looking at this, and I've seen the video. I mean, this is, I mean, from costuming to makeup to hair. Tell me a little bit about choreography. Was it a student that helped with the choreography this year? I mean, or
it's a little different every year.
Okay.
I would say that all of the choreography has to pass my Gestalt test, I guess. Okay. Right? You know, I have my rules. Don't do turns while you're singing, right? There are lots of little rules like that I don't like us to break.
The Bronwyn rules.
Yeah, there's the Bronwyn rules of choreography. But the person that we work with most extensively is Don Greco, and he used to be a staff member, a faculty member here at the high school. He has since retired, but he still comes back, and he has had some input. I really value his input and his perspective, and also it's really nice to have another adult voice in rehearsal to talk to the kids in case they're starting to get tired of me yapping at them. Then there's another person to sort of talk to them and coach little tiny details here and there. Nice to have that other pair of eyes. But also, as you said, it's very student driven as well, where you know, we'll do something and I'll say, well, you know, here's what's happening in the story, and I haven't really been able to come up with something for this little section here, and because we'll be like, ooh, what if we did this, or something like, you know, and I'll say, just try some stuff, and sometimes I'll say, ooh, I really like what you did there, show us what you did, and let's see if we can expand on that idea. So a lot of it is really student driven, and I like that a lot. Sometimes in past years, it's been the case where 1 or 2 students will really feel a huge passion for the physical part of the storytelling, and will, you know, they'll stay after rehearsal, spending hours thinking, well, this is what's happening in the story here, and what if this group did this, and what if that group did that, and they'll block it all out and bring it into rehearsal, and we'll try it. I love it when that happens. So
you went to American University.
Yeah.
All right, so what did you study at American University?
I have a Bachelor of Music, a BM.
Okay. It wasn't like poli-sci or anything like that. Okay.
Nope. And I mean, for me, the greatest thing about American University, I had some really amazing professors. It was a very small school, but it was being in Washington, D.C. I was in a choir every night of the week, a couple of different church choirs on Sunday mornings, that I made a little tiny bit of money being a ringer in their, like a hired person who comes in and just bolsters their chorus a little bit. And all of the performances that I could see in Washington, D.C., it was it was a really wonderful, wonderful place to be.
So what's your dance experience?
I'm a little ballerina.
Really?
I am, and I took ballet from the time I could begin it, 5 all the way through high school.
Yeah.
And so that's my dance experience.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm really, really attracted to the idea that music is movement. It's in your brain. The part
you can't listen to music and sit still.
Well, some people can. I can't.
No, I can't.
The part of your brain that processes music, that remembers music, is the movement center of your brain. It's also in charge of you moving. And I used to be really self-conscious of conducting, because when I conduct, I am not, I'm not that director. I'm like, I move around and I wiggle things.
But that's so awesome. I mean, and people only see the back side, the back of you, not the back side, but the back of you. And to see the show choir, to see you, it's like when Michael conducts. Michael jumps, Michael moves, Michael, I see him from broadcasting the basketball games, and the facial expression. That's what's so awesome. Yeah. It would be kind of cool to have you probably wouldn't want it, but to have, from the front while you're conducting.
Yeah. I direct another chorus that sometimes we rehearse with the chorus seated where the audience would be, and I turn around and direct them, and there is sometimes an invited or open audience at these rehearsals, and they love that when I'm the only one facing out, and they get to watch all the faces that I'm making,
right.
Whatever the weird faces that I'm making at my choristers are. But I just think that music touches every part of a person. It touches you physically, it touches you emotionally, it touches your soul. And I really like show choir for that reason, because it really is a physical and visual representation of that. I love
it. It's cool when you think about it. You're saying the physical, because there's so much movement across the entire stage.
Yeah.
All right. The camera's yours. What do you want to tell the island?
What do I want to tell the island?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure to put on me.
There you
go. I want to tell the island thank you so much for having such amazing students, and for sharing them with us, for supporting their passions, and for supporting music on the island.
You got a big booster club.
I know. I just want more. I want more kids.
All right. Perfect. You want a third? Maybe not, but it would be great to have more and more people participating in the visual performing arts. It
just is. It is pretty amazing on this island. We have, so many opportunities, so many athletic opportunities, so many academic opportunities, so many musical opportunities. It's a smorgasbord for kids.
Did you get a police escort when you came back?
No, we never do.
We're working on that. We'll work on that.
Well, I know
but it was middle of the night.
We come home at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
I know. So who wants to get up and
we'll work
escort?
We'll work on that.
Maybe just the kids' moms and dads. We did drive by one of the Bar Harbor police officers on Eagle Lake Road when we were coming in, and we waved.
We'll work on that next year. You win next year, we're going to have a police escort for you.
Well, I'll tell you, that is pretty cool, and I think that it's an awesome thing to do, but I say this to the kids every year. The kids do this amazing thing before we go on stage for our final performance. They do senior speeches, and the seniors tell the rest of the show choir group what their experience in show choir has been like, what it's meant to them. And the amazing thing to me is almost every senior every year says the most amazing thing about the show choir experience for them has been all of you. And by that they mean all of the other kids and knowing them and being part of the show choir family. And for me, that moment, that is when I win. That's my moment where I honestly, I want them to be so proud of their show. I want them to do the most phenomenal show that they could ever imagine and be so proud of it. But I don't need the judges to tell me that we won. At that moment, I don't need those judges.
Well, I mean, you look at, and next year I will be here, but I mean, the combined show choir night here at the high school, when you have the...
I know. Isn't it the best night?
I mean, I saw pictures and it was like, holy, you need to be here early so you can get your seat.
To get the seat of your choice. I love that evening. That evening is my favorite event at the high school. I say that about a lot of things at the high school, but that evening just is so full of love and joy and celebration. It's electric.
All right. Thanks for doing this with me.
Thank you. It was pretty fun. I survived it better than I thought I would.
Thanks for watching. Check out all the other videos we have on the WDEA YouTube channel.